All right, this is part two of our lecture series on looking at what are the characteristics of life. And so, just a quick recap again, we started off with talking about the first characteristic that every living thing is made up of cells, and cells are the basic unit of life. Second, that organisms respond to stimuli in some way, shape, or form. Three, that all organisms maintain a homeostasis or maintain an internal environment in their organism. And now we're picking up where we last left off. And so, from a lot of our activities, one of the things that is often said by students as being a requirement for life is energy. And that is exactly the case here. So, all organisms rely on energy to function. But what distinguishes a lot of different types of organisms is how they obtain that energy. And in the upcoming year, we're going to look at those ways in which energy is obtained by the organisms a little bit more. But for us today, know that all organisms have some form of a metabolism. And generally, a lot of life has evolved to use the molecule that we all know and love, sugar or glucose, to be able to transfer that energy. Now, we'll dive in later about what is involved with that exchange of energy or metabolism, but generally it's dealing with consuming, producing, eating, breathing, gas exchange, etc. All of those, as we're going to find out, are involved with energy metabolism or the transfer of energy. Our next characteristics is that, all organisms change throughout time. One of the key things that we should know about the planet Earth is that it's always changing. The continents are drifting different directions. Time changes. We go through cooling and warming periods. And so life on Earth has to change with it. And as we'll learn later on, those that are not able to adapt or change, unfortunately, face death and extinction. But all organisms have to go through some form of change or evolution. So again, it ties in a little bit with that homeostasis that the organism and eventually the population will have to adapt, and eventually the population will have to evolve to be able to survive these changing conditions. Next is, with evolution, evolution is driven by reproduction. You cannot have a continued population unless you are transferring that genetic material inside of your cells to the next generation to be able to live and be able to continue on. So our next one is reproduction, in which you're passing down heritable traits. These are things that's in your DNA and RNA to the next generation. And we're going to talk about how that DNA and RNA directly links to the characteristics of your cells and the characteristics of an organism altogether. Now, again, we want to ask this question: why is reproduction essential for, let's say, characteristics of life? Well, we take a look at this picture right here. You kind of see a wolf, all right? And let's say we have a populations of bunnies here, and the wolf is pretty hungry. Who is that wolf most likely going to go after first? Well, one who is hungry, the one that looks to be the easiest to catch and get a good meal, usually is better. In this case, we kind of notice that, these bunnies right here, they kind of stick out a little bit more than the rest. And so what reproduction does is that any trait that helps, let's say, this bunny survive, she was able to pass down those traits to the next generation so that hopefully they will be able to survive later on as well. But all this comes from being able to survive, reproduce, and transfer that genetic material. And so there's two forms of reproduction that we're going to dive more into later on. First one is going to be asexual reproduction. Think of this as a copy, if you will. This is going to be things like mitosis. This is going to be making exact copies. Again, if you're able to go from one organism and split into two identical ones, well, you're able to replace your population pretty quickly. But one of the big disadvantages is, well, if there's not two parents and it's the same organism every time, eventually they're all going to be the same. And as we'll learn later on, that could be a downfall in terms of evolution in case something were to happen. Now, going into sexual reproduction, this is where you have two organisms coming together and producing a brand new organism. Now, big pro on this one is that it increases genetic diversity. As we're going to find out, the more genetically diverse a population is, the better chances it has adapting to changing conditions. However, the population growth is small. When you have more complex organisms, generally it takes more time for these complex organisms to develop and can, well, allow for some challenges in itself. So we're going to dive into these topics a lot more, especially when we get into populations. Okay. Now our last one is that all organisms in some way, shape, or form go through some form of growth and development, whether that be a simple bacteria to a plant to even yourself. This is that change as it goes from premature young to mature. So, what makes an organism mature? The ability to reproduce. And again, that we're tying all of these characteristics together, and they all kind of rely upon one another to maintain that particular organism. So let's just do a quick recap. Number one, organisms are all made up of cells, and cells are the basic unit of life. All organisms respond to outside stimuli, and that outside stimuli can lead to homeostasis, where you can maintain that internal environment. You need energy to be able to do all of these particular things. And as the world changes, so does the population. And so a population must be able to evolve to a changing condition. And to be able to evolve, you need genetic diversity, or you need a big population. You have reproduction. And finally, you need to be able to form organisms that are able to thrive in a particular environment. And so you have your growth and development. So, end of our Characteristics of Life lecture.